Dear students, I am Professor Kanagaraj. I provide free IAS coaching program in Coimbatore. More than 400 students study in my free coaching program. So far, 88 students have got through the exam. It is a wonderful time that I am speaking to you. Recently, the Union Public Service Commission has declared the results of the civil service exam, main exam. More than 2,000 students have got through the exam. They are going for interview. And it is the right time that we should prepare for an interview. Civil services interview, it is officially known as personal interview. And it is the most important stage of the exam. And here there are only 275 marks at stake. But it is the interview mark that will decide your fate in the exam. Within a short period of 20 to 25 minutes, you can demonstrate a clear edge over other students. So it is the most important component of the entire examination process itself. The candidates must aim for anything above 60 to 65%, roughly anything above 200 marks out of 275. If you want to ask me one particular statement that will concisely tell the entire process of interview, it is know thyself. In the ancient period, one young student went to one philosopher and asked him, what is knowledge? Where to have it? What is this world? The learned philosopher told that any man, know thyself. Know yourself, you will understand the world. It is true, relevant for civil services, personal interview also. Know yourself, know thyself. The test is basically a test on autobiography of the individual. So the students must know their name, the city they are coming from, the district they are coming from, their state, the world, science, technology, society, politics, economy, everything. And your educational background is very, very important. The city you are coming from, the educational background is very, very important. There are two ways in which the educational background becomes important. One, the institution where the candidate had studied. If the institution is a prestigious one, if the institution is known internationally and nationally, questions are bound to be asked. For example, students coming from Indian Institute of Technologies, students coming from other prestigious institutions, questions were asked in the past. Another point, they can ask you questions on your subject. The subject that you studied in your college or the optional subject that you have taken for the mains exam. For example, a student some years back from my free coaching center, he attended the interview with psychology as the optional. And the board extensively asked him about psychology. For example, what is emotional intelligence, how it is useful to human beings to live a successful life, and they asked what lessons in psychology that will be useful for a career in civil services. And they also asked about adversity quotient, emotional quotient, all those things. Similarly, another student went for interview. His optional subject was anthropology. The board asked him in detail about anthropology, how anthropology will be useful to a career in civil services. So the students, the candidates must thoroughly prepare on their educational background. Another important point, the city you are coming from, the district you are coming from is very, very crucial. You have to have a thorough understanding. For example, a student attended civil services interview. He hailed from Punjab, Chandigarh. The board nearly for 5 minutes asked plenty of questions on Punjab, Chandigarh, etc. to that candidate. For example, what is open hand monument in Chandigarh? What is rock garden? What is the nomenclature of Chandigarh? What does it mean? What are the important issues in the city of Chandigarh faces? What is the border dispute? Why it is the capital of two states and one union territory? What is river water dispute? What was the contribution of leaders from Punjab to the freedom struggle? What is Jallianwala Bagh? What is the contribution of Bhagat Singh, etc.? So they asked extensively on the native state, native city the candidate is coming from. So the students must be very thorough with the place they are coming from, their domicile. Another important point, another dimension of the interview, they will ask you about your hobbies. Hobbies are very, very important. They say face is the index of the mind. Hobby is the index of your personality. Cultivating socially useful, environmentally conscious hobbies are very, very important. Intellectually stimulating hobbies are very, very important. They have multiple benefits for a student who is preparing for civil service exam. So hobbies are very, very important. Another point the candidate must remember when they go for interview, stress management. That is very, very important. At times the UPSC conducts a stress interview for candidates. They will bombard the candidate repeatedly with tough questions and a kind of negative approach just to test whether the candidate is temperamentally suited for a career in civil services exam. So that stress aspect the candidates must focus on. For that they have to have long-term habits like meditation, yoga, etc. And the candidates must pay attention to SWOT analysis. Strength, weakness, opportunities and challenges or threats that students face. A need analysis, comprehensive analysis is very, very important when students go for this exam. And when you approach the interview, when you talk to the students who got to the exam, the candidates who failed in the past, you will come to know luck plays a crucial role in civil services exam. Many people say that luck decides ultimately whether you are in the service or you are out of the service. But there is no technology, there is no methodology, there is no philosophy through which we can bring luck. Don't worry about luck. What you have to do, you have to be hardworking. The harder you work, the luckier you will get. Fortune favors the brave one. They say, motivation speakers, they say, put the letter P before luck. You will get the password for the attainment of all your desires. So don't worry about luck. Luck has its own role, but you don't have any control over that. Luck plays its own role in the sense that it decides the chairperson of the interview panel, the members of the interview panel, the choice of questions in the interview. You don't have any control over that. Don't worry about it, but be positive and be bold, and definitely luck will come to you. And another important aspect the students must understand when they go for civil service exam interview is the manner you answer questions is very important. Not only the answers, even the manner you are answering the questions is very important. Students must be very polite. Students must be very candid. There should not be any dishonesty on the part of the students. Honesty is very, very important. The great English poet, playwright Shakespeare said, honesty is the best policy. Honesty is the best and foremost policy. No legacy is as rich as honesty. So honesty is very important. The purpose of the civil service interview is not to test the wealth of knowledge that the candidate possesses. The purpose is to understand the temperament, the personality of the candidates. Suppose you don't know the answer for any question, candidly, politely accept that you don't know. In that case, the panel will go to another question and ask a question which you can answer and through which they can find out your character attributes. So the best answer will be, if you don't know anything for a question, excuse me, I don't know. Politely, candidly, you accept. That is very important. Once they asked one anecdote, once they asked a question to a candidate, suppose you are the collector of your district and there are two subordinates working under you. You have a very, very important objective, very, very important project. Out of the two candidates, which one will you choose? One candidate is really competent, is really skillful, but he is suffering from moral turpidity. He is not morally correct, he is not an honest person. The second candidate is very honest, he is morally correct, but at the same time, he suffers from a deficit of skills. He is suffering from incompetence. Out of these two subordinates, which subordinate will you choose? The candidate answered, I will choose the subordinate who is incompetent. I will I will reject the candidate who is suffering from moral turpitude, because incompetency in a person can be removed through appropriate skilling process. You can provide the skills to the candidate through training, but moral turpitude, dishonesty is something which we cannot manage, and we don't choose that candidate. So I will choose the candidate who is incompetent rather than a candidate who is morally suffering from turpitude. So honesty is very, very important when you go for interview. Another important factor that you have to keep in mind, every affirmation has, right, any statement, any idea in this world has an affirmation, it is called thesis, a negation, it is called antithesis. There is always a conflict between thesis and antithesis. When there is a conflict, synthesis will emerge. Synthesis is a higher state of truth. So in every issue, the candidate should list down the advantages, the merits, positive attributes. Then they should list down the disadvantages, demerits, disadvantages. And have a comparison, have a discussion. Through that, you arrive at a greater truth. This is called Hegelian dialectics. The students must practice this technique. Another important point is your dress, your attire. You put on an attire which is very comfortable to you, which is very formal. Remember, you will be going for interview in the month of February. This time, in February, Delhi will be having a wonderful, salubrious climate. So whatever dress is suiting to you, whatever dress is comfortable for you, but whatever dress is formal, you put on the dress and go to the interview. And before going for interview, I would like to narrate one story. I have read somewhere in the internet one interesting anecdote about Sachin Tendulkar. He was chosen to play for the country at the age of 16. He was chosen to play for the country against Pakistan. They say in one of the matches, test matches, I think it is the second test match in Sialkot, he was playing, he was batting in the crease. And suddenly one fast ball, bowled at around 140 kilometers per hour, after pitching at the right spot, rose up as a bouncer and hit him on the helmet. And immediately blood started coming out from his nose. And the team doctor came to the ground, provided first aid to him. And the captain of the team was the non-striking batsman. He also came and talked to the young boy who was hit. And even the Pakistani players surrounded him. First aid was given to him. And they told him, they suggested that he should take rest because he has been hurt. It seems he was walking back to the pavilion thinking about taking rest. When he was walking back, accidentally, he saw among the spectators one placard. The placard said, "Hi kid, what are you doing here? Go home, play with your mother." When he saw the placard, it seems he was really enraged by that. He felt really wounded by that placard. Instead of coming back to the pavilion to take rest, he returned to the crease and took guard. Everybody asked, "Are you okay? Why are you taking guard again?" And he decided to bat. And he scored around 58 runs and drew the match for India. Later on, he went on to say, the most important moment, the most defining moment in his life is that particular moment when, instead of going to the pavilion, he took a walk back to the crease after seeing that placard. Dear students, you are on the threshold of an important event. If you do well in the interview, a wonderful future awaits you. Always keep this point in mind. When the defining moment comes, either you define the moment or the moment will define you. It is the defining moment for you. Be confident. Definitely you will get through. The one-point statement, one suggestion that I would like to give the candidates is this: be normal and be formal. You will definitely get through the exam. All the best.